Okie dokie, folks, and welcome to Monday Night Shaw right here on Love Wrestling. I'm Kyle Shaw, and on today's show, I have a special guest, one of the youngest pro wrestlers active on the Alberta scene today, somebody who actually is fresh into the scene because she just made her debut, but she actually has been training for a while. So please welcome Relentless Rylie Rose. How you doing there?
I'm doing all right. How about you?
I'm doing pretty good, Um, I went for a long walk today with my dog, and I took a nap. Yeah, it was a pretty good day, and lots of people are aware that back when I wrestled Cat, I injured myself and whatnot. But this week I was able to get back into the training center, as you know, because you're also there, and I'm pretty
Yeah.
happy that my injury held up and didn't seem to hinder me that much in the ring. So I'm looking forward to starting to tussle again, on shows.
Yeah.
And
It,
speaking of starting to tussle on shows, you recently had the opportunity to have your first match. How was that?
it was so nerve-wracking. My debut match was at Midway, and the nerves were racking up, but I was so excited because I've been training and working for so long. I was
Mm-hmm.
finally able to showcase things that I've learned.
Yeah. How long did you train for before you actually had your first match?
I have been training for about a year and a half since August of 2020. And prior to that, I did 2 years of amateur wrestling.
Oh, solid. So you wrestled in the Midway Center, which I'm pretty sure is a brand new venue. I don't think they've had wrestling there before.
I
But
don't think
from
so.
all the videos and pictures I saw, like it looked like it was an incredible show. Like the production value was off the chain.
It was truly an amazing experience, and I am still very honored to be able to wrestle in that kind of venue.
Yeah, and you said it was a
Yeah.
nerve-wracking experience for you. Of course, it was a nerve-wracking experience for
Oh
you.
yeah.
Like, I mean, everybody's first match is a nerve-wracking experience for them, and whether you've got a like, I mean, was it a good match? I heard it was good.
I I thought it was a good match. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Who did
And
you who did you wrestled Taryn, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And uh and so what do you think like what was the advantage of wrestling somebody like Taryn in your first ever match?
Um, Ooh, that one's a good one. I feel like the advantage of wrestling Taryn is that regardless of the outcome, is it showed that I put up a fight,
Hmm.
and it showed it allowed me to showcase some of my skills. It allowed me to demonstrate a bit of my character fresh out of fresh out of training. Um, I just I think it was a really, really um, great opportunity.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've wrestled against Taryn a couple of times in like tag team matches and stuff, and yeah, she's in the battle royal. A couple of the ones I was in, and I always love wrestling with her. She's so positive and whatnot, and you know, like
Yeah.
she's become insanely skilled too. Like I remember back in the like when I was first training at Force and stuff, and Taryn first came, and she has improved leaps and bounds, and yeah, she's worked really hard, and I'm happy that you guys had a great match because like that's what I heard. I heard it was great. Um, uh, uh, just because you've talked about training there for a year and a half, that's a long time to train before your first match. But I assume that probably has something to do with like your young age and whatnot, right? Um, but I also think that gave you a tremendous advantage. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so actually it is a part of that as well, but it was also with my comfortability because throughout my 1.5 year, 2 years of training, there were so many breaks, whether it be from COVID lockdown or, you know, something else that would have to cause me to wrestle for, it would put me out of training for a long duration of time.
Yeah.
And I wanted to make sure that I was comfortable before making a debut.
Yeah.
And I
And
believe representing top talent in that moment, it was perfect.
I think a better word than comfortable. No offense. Like, I mean, you explained yourself, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but I think a better word is prepared, right?
Yeah,
Like, I
that's a really
like,
good word. Yeah.
yeah. When I had my first match, like, I was living at Steven Styles' house, right? We were kind of like roommates, and I had started training with Andrew Hawk, and like a month into the training, Squid got me booked on a show. And so like I had my first match before I'd ever even done like a tackle drop down hip toss spot at all or anything. So it was like, yeah, I was completely unprepared and whatnot, but you know, I made the best of it, and of course the people that I did wrestle, they did their best to make sure everything was kept safe and that we would went out there and entertain people and didn't stick the joint out. And whatnot. Don't get me wrong, my first match was not a 5-star classic, but it was definitely a memory that I have, and is something that I kind of am proud of, because once I did, I showed it to Hawk afterwards, and he was like, "Well, yeah, that was pretty awful, but." It was not as bad as I was expecting, and I'm very proud of you, Kyle. So I was, you know, my first match was me versus Steven Styles versus Epic Eddie Rude in a 3-way match at the Bonneville. It was like a fish and game like building. Like there's literally, they had like stuffed geese on the walls of this building.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And I was wrestling as the Canadian Goose, right? Like it was there. They literally did have like stuffed geese
But just
on the
having
wall
stuffed
in the
geese
venue.
on the wall.
Yeah, yeah. So like it was kind of an appropriate venue for my first match, and I actually got to wrestle there a couple of other times too, which I have a special place in my heart for the Bonneville. I don't fish and game building. I don't know what it's called, but it was literally like, yeah, a fishing and game thing. It's a small hall, but yeah, I remember I have such fond memories of having my first match there and whatnot. And you know, I wish I've wrestled Steven Styles now numerous times. I wish I could have another opportunity to wrestle with Epic Eddie Rude, but he doesn't seem to be that active anymore, which is kind of a shame. Um, so after you had your debut match against Taryn from Accounting at the Midway Center, uh, then you just is that when you just started full board taking bookings wherever you can get them?
Yeah, I started taking bookings from RCW. I've been offered to wrestle in Winnipeg.
Solid. Are you going to go do that?
Absolutely.
Nice, nice. Nice. Yeah, I like wrestling with those guys. I went out to Winnipeg and wrestled last year. I had a tremendous time. We did it was at a resort, and the Lilac
Oh,
Resort, and there was like 2,000 people at the show watching. Yeah,
wow. That's a lot of people.
it was nuts. It was nuts. It was the biggest crowd I've ever wrestled in front of, and It's again one of my fondest memories because I went out there and I got the whole place going. They were into it from the moment I
2,000
walked out.
people.
Yeah, all honking. It was nuts.
That was probably like core memory moment of yours.
Yeah, absolutely. And then like it was taped. It was on the pre-show for an pay-per-view. So it actually was like the main event of the pre-show. I wrestled AJ Sanchez in a one-on-one match, and yeah, we had a good match. And I took a power bomb for the first time. It was yeah, it was a good one. I
Oh,
had a lot of
wow.
fun, and then because it was held at this resort, there was quite the after party. It was a good time. Yeah, yeah. It
That
was.
sounds like it was awesome.
Yeah, it really was. So since you started wrestling for RCW, who have you had the opportunity to lock up with in the ranks of Real Canadian Wrestling?
I've been able to lock up with Ava Lawless, Heavy Metal, Kato at one point, and
Oh,
then
Kato's
I was in.
fantastic.
Oh, it was amazing. It was a short duration, but it was great.
Hmm.
Um, and then there was also a tag team that I was in. I was in a tag team with Mars against Ava and Heavy Metal.
Nice, nice. How did that go?
Oh, that was fun.
Yeah, did you
That was
guys win?
truly fun. No,
No.
Ava and Metal won.
Yeah. Did you have to? Did you get pile driven?
No, actually,
No,
I
metal.
didn't.
Metal didn't give you the scary pile driver from hell. Last time I wrestled him, he did. He gave it to me. He underhooked me and then lifts you way up above his like head, that drops you on your head. Yeah, I took it twice from him in that match. The first time he hooked me and I went up and my legs ended up on the referee's shoulders, so the referee kind of helped him with it by accident. And then after the match, he picked me up and he did it to me again. It was, and then
Oh.
yeah, it was. That was a rough night for me though, because like I also I yeah, that was a rough night for me because I took a tackle from him early on in the match and I smashed the back of my head into the mat. It was my own fault, but
Oh.
I completely yeah, I was concussed. I got to the back, and I was like, "Oh, Metal, I'm so sorry that we only wrestled for like 2 or 3 minutes." And he was like,
Holy shit.
"Dude, we wrestled for like 9 8 9 minutes. You did everything I told you to do. You did great. Thank you." And I was like, "Oh, well, I don't remember any of that." And yeah, so
Oh, wow.
yeah, I went to the hospital and whatnot, and I ended up taking like a couple of weeks off. It was my own fault. That was right fresh after I had injured myself, and so I went to shoot him off, and then when I shot him off, I kind of like my leg got caught on the canvas in a weird way, and I kind of tripped and went down to one knee, and then as soon as I
Oh.
came back up, that's when he hit me, and I fuck yeah, excuse my language, I smashed the back of my head, and I was out. I was
Oh,
like, oh yeah,
shit.
yeah, and like yeah. But he
That's brutal.
testament to how safe Metal is that he was able to guide me through the rest of the match without any further incident, and even like doing those big pile drivers at the end too. Like there was no problem. Metal, I absolutely have 100% trust in him.
That being said, I haven't taken it in the tag match, but I took it at Calgary when I went face to face with him. And that was the finisher.
Yeah, the
It's
pile driver.
oh yeah.
It was nerve wracking, wasn't it?
Oh yeah.
The first time I ever took a pile driver was in a match. I was in a tag team match. It was me and Tyson Hiller against Vince Austin and who I'm blanking on his name now. Vince Austin's tag team partner. His shoot name was Christian, I think, but he was like this. He was like this weird wizard guy. He was cool. Anyway, I wrestled them, and and then at the end of the match, Vince Austin was like, "Okay," and then at the end, I'll give you a pile driver, and I was like, "Okay." I just put my hands on your legs, and he was like, "Yep, yep." And it was Vince Austin, right, who's been wrestling for 30 years. So I was like, I trust Vince Austin. Let's just do it. And yeah, it was one of those things where like pile driver is a scary move. You know what I mean?
I think
Like,
it's a universal scary move.
yeah, it's one of those ones that's hyped up as a very dangerous move too. So like I've always been a little nervous about them, but I'm also like, I trust the people that I wrestle. So if they want to show me how to do it, then let's do it. You know what I mean? Uh, so when did you like get interested in wrestling?
I got interested in wrestling about 5 years ago, I'm gonna say.
Okay,
Um,
is there a particular like storyline or match or anything that like drew you in and was like, oh, this is what I want to do?
Absolutely. My friend actually introduced it to me, and she showed me a clip of the Shield against the Wyatt family. And
Oh, okay,
instantly, I fell for it. I absolutely loved it. I just continued watching it and getting invested in it. And I decided, you know what? I want to do this as a career.
nice, nice. I remember like didn't they have like a big stare down like all through like the three guys on one side, three guys on the other side. You're like, oh, something's about to go down.
The
Yeah,
tension was unreal.
yeah. That's one of those things that I like about wrestling is those like emotions. Like that's what I think of. Like when you mention that match to me, I don't think of any of the spots. Like I can't remember any of the moves they did to each other. The thing I remember is that weird stare down. Like isn't that like that's cool, eh? Like it's just an
Yeah, when you
interesting
create a
aspect of
moment.
wrestling. Yeah, like yeah,
Mhm.
100%. Is the Wyatt family or the Shield like are those guys who you would consider to be like your favorite wrestlers now?
The Shield would be my favorite faction, even though they're former.
Yeah,
Um,
they're not together
and
anymore.
I absolutely love Liv Morgan and Sasha Banks.
Liv Morgan and Sasha Banks, eh? I mean,
Yep.
I like Sasha Banks. I can see as like a huge influence, but like I'm not super familiar with Liv Morgan. Like I've seen like a couple of things from her, but that's surprising to me. I'm gonna have to check out more of her stuff. I know that she does that crazy move where the girl's like sitting on the ropes or whatever, and then she jumps in and does a flatliner. Zoe does it now. That's a
Yeah, it's
cool.
so
That's a very cool move.
I've liked Liv Morgan since she was in the Riot Squad.
Mhm.
I don't know, like she was such an underrated wrestler, and you could tell that she had skill, and she was involved in shenanigans, and her energy was just spot on, and I loved it.
Yeah, she strikes me as somebody that works really, really hard. You know,
Definitely.
like if you're like a Liv Morgan and you got to go out there and wrestle against like Ronda Rousey, like that's got to be nerve wracking. You know, like Ronda
Oh,
Rousey is
totally.
like you know at any moment Ronda Rousey could kill you. You know,
At any moment, she can put you into an arm bar.
yeah, she'll break your arm in like 20 seconds, and you can't do anything about it because like she's a world class MMA fighter, you know. So like I feel for all the girls that are like going out there and wrestling with her because like it's it's just got to be like a wild thing for them. It would be like if I like as a male, like you got to go ahead and have a match against like Brock Lesnar, like you'd be so nervous that
Ooh.
oh boy, I hope I don't accidentally stiff this guy or something. Did you see the one where Brock is in a three-way against Seth Rollins and Braun Strowman, and Braun Strowman starts getting a little excited and he stiffs Brock by accident and Brock just boom, 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 right? Like punches him
I
right in
think
the
I
face,
have.
and it's just like whoa. And you're like, you could literally like as a wrestler, I was watching it, and I was like, oh, Brock Lesnar is basically being, hey, chill that, chill out, slow down.
Calm down.
Yeah, it's that was a great moment from a
They're
match too.
definitely they're definitely people you don't want to make angry. Like, don't get
Yeah.
me wrong, you don't want to go out of your way to make people angry. But
I mean, don't get me wrong. Yeah, like you say, like it's where anybody that goes out there and like stiffs people on purpose that's a dick move, you know. Like
yeah.
that's not necessary. Um, like don't get me wrong. Wrestling is a physical sport, and sometimes things happen, and like 1 out of 10 accidentally cracks you or whatever pretty hard and whatnot, but that's part of wrestling, right? Like is that part of the wrestling that you enjoy, like that like have you developed any like has being a professional wrestler increased your like confidence?
I'd say it has, honestly.
Yeah.
Um, Being a professional wrestler, getting myself into a better and healthier lifestyle, that's all really improved my confidence.
Yeah. Do you feel like if you were accosted on the street, like you could handle yourself? Like you just somebody starts to mess with you, you just put them on the ground and like put them in a hold and be like,
No
chill out.
mercy.
Yeah,
No mercy.
yeah. Wait. Um. All right. Solid. So, is there? So you've had the opportunity to wrestle with Ava and with Kato. Have you wrestled Kat Von Hees yet?
I have not, but I am
No.
going to next week at Midway.
Oh, okay. Oh, right. That's it. That's going to be a big match for you. Are you excited?
Oh, I'm so excited.
Yeah, yeah. I had a match with Kat. That was the one I injured myself in, and it was completely my fault. Nothing to do with Kat. But like I was actually quite happy with the match. I thought it turned out pretty good, like despite the fact that I got hurt. I yeah, Kat's good. Like the thing about Kat that I like is that she's very physical. So like she likes to throw down. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, don't
I'm so excited for the match, honestly.
don't be afraid to hit her. You know, hit her and hit her hard because that's what she's gonna do to you.
Get my shots in while I can.
Wait, what have you found to be the most challenging aspect of your of getting into wrestling and your training and whatnot? Like, what do you find to be the most challenging aspect of professional wrestling for yourself?
Ooh. I'm gonna have to say, maybe like building a character, you know? Um, One of the complex things that I found is that when I'm creating Relentless Rylie Rose, I'm trying to figure out different aspects. I'm trying to think of, move sets, or I'm trying to think of, you know, the music, for example, and creating a character with its personality and really fine tuning it. I found that to be very difficult.
Okay, yay, that's perfectly fair. 100%. Like, what about have you spent much time trying out like promos or anything? Have you put out a promo for your match against Kat?
I have not put out any promos. I was considering on putting out a promo a while ago for one of my matches, but I decided not to, since by the time um, I finalized it in a way, um, it was already around the day of the match and we were on the road.
Okay.
So I've considered doing promos.
I recommend it, even if like you don't like film something And even if you don't release it because like you don't feel that it's up to snuff or whatever, and I'm not trying to crap on you and say you do poor promos or anything like that. I'm just saying, like, if you feel like, oh, I this promo's not something I want to release, do it anyway. Like, practice, get that flowing, and just try to get comfortable talking, and you know I think that's a valuable thing to do. I mean, I'm not trying to tell you what to do. You do whatever you want, but like, I think that the promos are kind of, I think that's an important aspect of character building, for sure.
Yeah. I've done a few practice promos where I'm kind of just wandering in my room, pacing back and forth,
Okay,
just
well, that's
letting.
that's that's what you got to stop doing that. Don't pace back and forth during your promo. Stand there and like be direct about it, right? Like, if you stand there and you're nervously moving and stuff, I mean, it makes it look a little dodgy. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, pacing back. I mean, don't get me wrong. You could absolutely do a promo where you're pacing back and forth, and that's like one of the points of the promo. Like a weird, like Chris, like Benoit, or like somebody that's real intense and just pacing back and forth, and they just chomping at the
Yeah.
bit to get at their
Just
opponent. Like, yeah, that sounds cool. So I've asked you about your greatest challenge. What do you think is your greatest asset? Like, what has come naturally to you with the wrestling, and is something you would consider a strength?
ooh, that one's a really good one. I think my strength in professional wrestling is that I'm fairly durable. I will take a hit. Um, if I hurt myself or something, I will push past it. It's kind of like endurance. I
I've
feel
seen
like
you
my
run the
endurance has
ropes for like
definitely gone
12
up.
minutes in a row. Like, yeah, I've personally witnessed you do
Oh,
crazy long, I mean, I think, was it yesterday, and you kind of showed up a few minutes late, and you had to do the gauntlet of everybody, the drill. You had to do it like two or three times
oh,
with
that
everybody
that
in a row,
gassed
and I was like,
me.
wow, I commend you though, because you stuck with it. And I mean, I could tell by the end that it was really challenging for you. But that was also, like, I think, the fact that you were able to, you went at least 5 times longer than I could have gone.
um, One thing that I find with myself is that, I could be, you know, gassed, I could be in pain, I could, there could be some kind of, what's the word for it? Roadblock in a way. There could be some kind of roadblock, but if I quit, then I wouldn't really forgive myself for a
Mhm.
while because I'd feel like, oh, I'm giving up,
Yeah,
you
no,
know?
I hear you. There's times, like, even like, I mean, like I say, I just personally, like, I'm not trying to make this all about me or whatever, but like, I just started going back to the training recently after dealing with an injury, and it was a cardio struggle for me. And there's a couple of times where I I went hard, and then I had to go. Sometimes when you push yourself that hard, you're gonna puke, right? So I
Oh,
go
yeah.
to the bathroom, uh, puke and dry heave or whatever I need to do, and then as soon as I'm done, you look yourself in the mirror, wipe your forehead off, and tell yourself, "Hey, don't be a bitch, get back out there." So
Yeah, don't be a bitch.
yeah, so that I've done that numerous times. So you just have to keep pushing.
Just got to keep going.
Yeah, just keep swimming like Dora or Dory or
Dora.
the fish.
Dory.
Yeah, yeah,
Dory.
Yeah, just keep swimming. Just keep swimming.
Just
Oh
keep
yeah.
swimming.
So, uh, I mean, you've been around now. You've been able to watch lots of wrestling shows and indie shows around here and whatnot. Is there anybody that you've seen wrestle where you're like, I can't wait to get in the ring with that person?
One person that I think would be a fun time to get into the ring with would probably be, I think Stephen Crow would be fun to
Oh,
wrestle.
Stephen Crow would be fantastic. You guys would have a great match.
I think that would be really, really fun.
Yeah,
I'd be willing to do that.
well, 100%. I mean, I you kind of got to be willing to wrestle whoever
Yeah,
they're going to pay
but
you to
you know
wrestle.
what I mean.
Yeah, no, yeah, no, I had my 100th match against Stephen Crow, and
Oh
I,
shit!
yeah, I'm incredibly regretful though because it was not taped. Nobody videoed it. I should have been like, "Hey, buddy, take my phone and videotape this," but I just assumed that the promoter had a camera set up, and they did not. And unfortunately, yeah, Johnny
You're
Devine was there, and he actually watched it. I didn't ask him to, but he watched it, and afterwards gave me like critiques and tips on it. And yeah, and he was seemed impressed. So
That's great.
yeah,
I mean, aside from no film, which kind of sucks, but I mean, it's.
mhm. I really would like to wrestle Stephen Crow again because like I feel like even since then, which I mean, yeah, I don't know how long ago that was. It wasn't that long ago. I don't think I've reached 200 matches yet, but uh, even since then, I feel like my skills have developed more, and that me and him could do some other really fun stuff too. You know, especially now that I'm kind of like a bad guy in RCW.
That would be an enjoyable match to watch, I think,
Hmm.
personally.
Yeah,
That should
because
be
the
good.
first time it was like a babyface versus babyface match, so we just kind of went out there and wrestled each other and whatnot, and we just he did a flying head scissors on me, and yeah, it was a good match, and it was also like the first time I wrestled with a wrestler that was like had less matches than me one on one. So I also kind of was like calling it to him, you know, like while we were out there, there was like at one point I was like, okay, yeah, we're gonna do the duck duck goose spot, you know, like and I'll fight up, throw two clotheslines, I'll duck them both, then I'll hit you with crossbody, right? Like, and it was just like a cool experience for me because, like I say, Johnny Devine seemed impressed and it went well, so that made me happy. Anytime it goes well, you know, I'm kind of in it for the attaboys. You know what I mean? Like anytime anyone's like, "Yeah, that was good," I'm like, "Oh, thank you. I appreciate that so much." Like that's very fulfilling. You know what I mean?
Oh, whenever I come backstage and then uh, one of the wrestlers backstage said, "Oh yeah, good job on your match." It's always, it
Yeah,
hits.
yeah.
It's
You're
just
flattered
yes,
by it.
it's
Yeah,
so flattering.
mhm. And the opposite is also true. When you come back and people are like, "Oh, that was the shits," it's a bummer. And usually they don't need to tell you. Anyway, moving on. So, in all the matches that you have had so far, you've had what, 5 matches?
I've had about 7 now.
7? Okay, so you had your debut against TFA. You were in a tag with against Metal and Ava, and then you wrestled Kato. Did you wrestle Kato twice?
No, I wrestled Kato once, and then I wrestled Sam. I wrestled Ava twice.
Oh, okay. You wrestled Sexy Sam. Solid. How did that go?
Yeah. I was frustrated with myself. At this point, I've come to terms with it. But I
Oh,
went up for a crossbody, and my foot slipped on the rope, and
oh
I
no.
I crashed and burned.
These
Yeah,
things
I
happen.
was not
That's
happy.
yeah, these things happen. I went on the Clandestine Society 2 The one where we did the big gauntlet match, and I wrestled Davey O'Doyle. There's one moment where I was gonna go for a moonsault, and that was right after I had learned that thing where you spring from the middle rope up to the top rope, then moonsault, right? And it absolutely
Yeah.
terrifies me to try and do that. But I was like, oh, this is the clandestine society, the big show. I'm gonna do it. So I went up there and I jumped and I completely overshot and landed on the apron, like on my feet. And I was like, you can literally hear me in the video of the thing go, oh, that was fucked. And Davey gets up and I just was like, boom. And yeah. So it was embarrassing. But at the end of the day, like I mean, only me and Davey O'Doyle know what was actually planned there. Which I mean, I just told him I was going to do a moonsault. I don't think he realized I was going to try and do the BME moonsault and whatnot. Had I just gone for a regular moonsault, everything would have been totally fine. But I tried.
Oh
I tried to get
Lord.
fancy, and it didn't work out for me. So I haven't
Gotta
busted.
admit, like the risk taking is good. So
Yeah, it's one of those things, right? Like if you go for a crossbody, there's always a chance that you're gonna slip, and I mean the the silver lining is you don't appear to have been injured, you know.
I'm really glad that I wasn't injured because
Yeah,
at that moment
it must have been
um
scary for you.
I had just recently gotten like my foot checked out for something, and it wasn't injured or anything, but I was still keeping cautious of it. So
Mhm.
when I slipped, my immediate thought was, I hope that I didn't hurt this.
Yeah, I hear you. And you didn't hurt Sam either. So like there, things happen. You're new. You're learning. Like that's what being on the independent wrestling scene is all about, especially for somebody that is as young as you, who like if you keep working hard, there's definitely no reason why you won't be able to make it all the way to like the WWE or AEW or whatever you're looking to do, right?
That's the dream.
Yeah, I mean, like I can absolutely like one of the matches I would like love to see you in is I'd like to see you wrestle against Gigi Ray, because Gigi's just done she's done some stuff
Oh,
with
yes.
AEW, and I know that she's been backstage on some WWE stuff. So like I'd really like to see you guys go at it, because like she's also one of like MRB's students, and then came to Top Talent and trained with us and whatnot, and she's doing really well for herself. And I think that you and her would have a great match.
That would be an amazing opportunity. I would absolutely love to wrestle Gigi Ray.
You know, uh, is there anybody like is there? Do you have like a dream opponent? Like if Squig said, "Hey, I have unlimited funds to bring in anyone you want, and you can wrestle them." Who do you want him to? Who do you want to wrestle? Your dream opponent.
Ooh. Ooh. My dream opponent. That is actually a really good question because there's quite a few that are ranking up there in dream opponent. Um, Maybe somebody like I think going in a match against Tony Storm would be really, really awesome. Like really cool.
You know who you can talk
Um,
to about that?
like
Gigi Ray.
with
Gigi Ray. Tony Storm on AEW.
yeah. I think
That's
I think
good
I'm gonna
though.
stick with Tony Storm.
Yeah.
I think
Okay, and do
that's
you
who
have
I'm
a
gonna
dream
stick
tag
with.
team partner? Like if you were gonna go for the ladies tag team championships, who would be your tag team partner?
You're talking as in still dream or
Yeah,
in
yeah, 100%.
here? Okay, dream. Ooh. I'm I part of me wants to lean and be a little bit biased. But I think Rhea Ripley
As your tag
or
partner?
Liv Morgan.
Okay.
Yes.
They both have very interesting the thing about Rhea Ripley is she's got like such an interesting look, like with her like crazy like piercings and tattoos, and like I
I
wouldn't
dig it
want to mess
though.
with
She
her. Like I
rocks
wouldn't want
it.
to run into her in a dark alley. You know what I mean? Like I feel like Rhea Ripley would rip my head off.
Yeah, but I absolutely dig it. She just rocks it.
Yeah, yeah. No, she's
Looks
very good.
badass doing it.
Hmm. Are you a fan of AEW? Do you watch AEW?
I'm a fan of AEW. I keep up with the news on it, but I don't really watch it as much as I want to.
That's fair. Yeah, no, I'm kind of in the same boat with you, where like I keep abreast of the goings on in AEW and WWE, but like I kind of only tune in if there's something I really want to see. Um, but I love watching like more so like I love watching our indie shows. You know, I had a tremendous time at that last Love Wrestling show. Uh, the one where
That was a fun time.
yeah, the did you were there, eh?
Yes.
Did you see the match with Jack Pride and Kid Irish? It was so good.
Yes.
And that
That was
finish when he went
amazing.
for the shooting star into the code break, I was like, oh, please, please, some book me. Like I want Spencer to like. I mean, I want Spencer to book me against Son of Irish on a Love Wrestling show because I just think it would be so fun to wrestle Son of Irish on a big show like that. And I actually had a match with Son of Irish in Andrew, Alberta, uh, a month or two ago, and I showed it to my cousin, and he was like, "Oh, well, that's one of the best matches I think I've ever seen you in, Kyle." So I was like, "Oh, well, I appreciate that," and I want to wrestle like Son of Irish again just because he's so good, and I've never actually had the opportunity to wrestle with Jack Pride, but I definitely like to do that as well. I
You
think
and Son of Irish could put on a really good match.
yeah, I feel like we did some cool stuff, you know. Like it was a small crowd in Andrew, but I like one day, yeah, I'd love to wrestle him on like a real big stage, like a clandestine society or Love Wrestling or a Top Talent show. I think it would be fantastic. We did this one crazy spot where I whipped Son of Irish towards the corner, and he climbed the turnbuckle. He did a backflip like Daniel Bryan, landed on his feet. He ran towards me, and I headbutted him, and he did a full backflip and landed on his belly.
Holy!
It would look like the headbutt from hell. It was great.
Canadian Goose, the headbutt from hell.
Yeah, I gave him like this move that I came up with where it's he was sitting on the turnbuckle, like he was gonna go for a moonsault, and I cut him off, and then he landed sitting on the middle rope, and I grabbed him and I pulled him out so his feet were still draped on the rope, and then gave him a Sister Abigail. Yeah, it was pretty nuts.
Holy!
Yeah, I heard
Well,
I heard you've been doing the Sister Abigail too. How's that working out for you?
it's such a cool move,
Yeah, it's one of my
and
favorites.
when I use it's one of my favorites too.
I mean,
That and
obviously,
Kill
it's one of my
Switch.
favorites. It's my the kill switch, like the one that Christian does.
Yes.
You know what? I did it in training, and I mean, I'm not trying to kill the magic here or whatever, because like this is legitimately another move I might actually do in a match, and I don't really want to spoil it, but basically it's the same idea. The guy's on the apron sitting on the rope, and then you turn him, and then you put him in that Christian kill switch hold, and you pull him out so his legs are still draped on the ropes, and then you drop right to your ass from there. I did that to T.Y. Jackson in training, and it's pretty sick. But
Watching it from crowd perspective, that would That's brutal.
Yeah, it's
It's
pretty
just
gnarly.
brutal in general.
Yeah, but I like that move too. I actually the first time I ever had a one-on-one match with metal, I did the Christians kill switch on him. I did a swanton bomb in that match
Really?
too. Yeah, and I broke my ankle. Yeah, I broke my
Oh
ankle in
my
a swanton
god.
bomb, and then I wrestled the next day with a broken ankle. It was rough. I didn't know my ankle was broken. I just, and in fact, the just to bring all this back to my first match, the match that I wrestled the next day with the broken ankle was in Bonnieville, and I believe it was, it was a tag team match, and I think it was me and Bruce the Midget against Steven Styles and his son Matthew. It was. And then I remember Steven Styles was like, "Oh, do you want to do your swanton bomb again tonight?" And I was like, "No, not really."
I'm good.
I was like,
Just
"I
no.
will do it if it's the last thing in the match you want me to do, so that if I hurt my foot even more than it's already hurt, then then at least the only thing I have left to do is limp to the back, And yeah, so yeah, but
Did you get it checked
then
out
when I
afterwards?
got back to Edmonton, I went and got it checked out, and they were like, "Yeah, you have a broken ankle," and I had to wear a cast on my foot and everything, and it was like, "Oh boy." Uh, but
Wrestling with a broken ankle.
yeah, it's a credit to my opponents because like they 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 didn't further injure me, and again. It was my fault. Like I landed the swanton bomb, right? This way you do like a flip, try to point your toes and whatnot. I came down like full on like this, crack, like, into the mat, and it just, yeah,
Oh.
it was, yeah. And then like me and Metal continued to wrestle for 5 minutes after that, after the swanton or whatever too. And then so like we I didn't even know until I got to the back, and because like you have the adrenaline going, right? So
Once
the
the
adrenaline,
adrenaline is there.
yeah, and then once that wears off and you're back in the back and the match is over and you're gearing down, and then it's like, oh, this really hurts. Yeah, but
Oh, where'd this come from?
yeah, me and you, we've actually been training together. Like we trained together for quite a long time and whatnot. And like I say, I am very impressed with how well you've done and how far you've come. You know, like as somebody who's like 7 matches in, like I think that you have a higher degree of skill than even some of the people that are that have been at it for a little while, just because you train so regularly. You know what I mean? Like that's definitely one of the things I admire about you. It's not like there's some wrestling schools where it seems like, okay, you go, you do your 3 months, then you graduate and go get booked, and that's your training, and it's kind of done, but I feel like for me personally, like I find that having the Top Talent Wrestling School there is invaluable to me because I want to keep sharp.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
It's a good way to it's honestly an amazing wrestling school. I am beyond grateful that I was able to locate it and that I'm training there. And yeah, as you said, it's always good to stay sharp, stay fresh, like make sure you can keep up with the cardio.
yeah, that's the biggest thing for me is like, don't get me wrong, like once I've been back for like 2 or 3 weeks, my cardio will be good. And like I can tell you that just because, like, don't get me wrong, my cardio was not super great yesterday, but it was much better than it was the day before that. You know what I mean? So like there's been
Yeah.
improvement, and I know that's going to keep up and whatnot. And I've also like I have these ebbs and flows. Like, I mean, I'm not trying to make this like therapy with the Canadian Goose or anything stupid like that, but like I have these, like I have like peaks and valleys because like I don't know. I just like I have some mental health stuff that goes on, and so sometimes I'm like super depressed, and then sometimes I'm like super up and like energetic and almost like just like having like just feel like so great. It's weird that I go from like like that, but right now I'm kind of I'm on the upturn, and I've really buckled down. I've started dieting again, and I stopped indulging in bad habits, like smoking weed and drinking and stuff. I'm not going to sit here and tell anyone, oh, I'm never going to smoke weed or drink again, but for the time being, I'm concentrating more on like just you know getting the wrestling and whatnot, and making sure that I have
That's
all my
good.
ducks in a row, and my habits are under control and whatnot. So I feel good, and I hope that soon, like you say, you already were involved in a big intergender tag team match there, and you've wrestled Kato, and I'm not going to lie to you, I have. And I've told you this before, even at training, and that I am very much looking forward to one day me and you lock up and have an actual match. Um, like even I wanted to have training matches with you. It's just not. I don't think have me and you ever had like a full training match together. I don't think we have.
I don't think so.
Maybe like a tag
I don't
team
recall.
thing, but yeah, no, like I say, I would really like to wrestle with you. I think it would be a lot of fun, especially because we're kind of familiar with each other's abilities and whatnot, and what we can do. And I think that me and you could come up with some really fun stuff. And we both use the same finishing move, so there's definitely some cool
Be
stories
like
we
a
could tell
little
with that. Yeah.
little battle there.
Yeah, trust me, I got ideas, and I could show you like six different ways to get into the Sister Abigail, So because I've used it many times, and I know like different ways to counter moves and just grab the guy. I When we did the remember, were you at the first Love Wrestling show?
I
Where
believe
we
so.
Yeah, I was in the battle royal, and boot I got booted right in the face with a drop kick. Well, anyway, earlier on in that match, there was a spot where I was wrestling, and I came out, and I just do a move to this guy. Then another guy came at me, and I did a move to him, and then another guy came at me, and I did a move to him. Well, one of the guys that came at me was Sydney Steele, and I told him, okay, well, boot me in the gut and hook me for a suplex, and I'll spin out, put you into Sister Abigail, and give you a Sister Abigail. And I don't know if he just forgot or what, but he came out, and he started, he threw his tape at me, and then he hit me, and he tried to whip me off the ropes, and I was like, this is not what we planned. So when he tried to whip me off the ropes, I just kind of like ducked his arm in a certain way, spun him around, and hooked him for Sister Abigail, and you know, off we went. It was cool because it was like just like this. It was almost like this weird shoot reversal I gave him, and so
That's a unique transition.
yeah, because it was just like I was like, okay, I'm supposed to spin, but like no, he just tried to whip me, and I just went under his arm and pulled him back in, and yeah, so like there's little things like that I'd be happy to show you. I mean, I'm sure Metal's probably shown you a bunch of ways to get into it too. But yeah, I like there's all kinds of good stuff and cool reversals. Like another wrestler in Alberta that also uses the Sister Abigail is Tyler Knox, and me and Tyler Knox had a one-on-one match, and yeah, there's some cool stuff. Like we did. We came back later on after our one-on-one match at that show. There was also a big six-man tag. It was one of those ones where there's like 8 wrestlers on the card, so everybody wrestles each other one-on-one, and then at the end we come back and do a 4-on-4. And so at the end, when we did the 4-on-4, it was me and Tyler Knox. I got him on the headlock, and we did the old school international, like tackle, drop down, leapfrog, and then he goes for the hip toss. But when I just hooked him, I stopped him, like reversed the hip toss, grabbed him, and gave him a Sister Abigail right out of the hip toss. Yeah, it's pretty sick. So yeah, I'm happy that you've adopted that move as your own, and I know that there's some people that would be like, that's my move, get your own shit. But I stole it from somebody else too, so I'm not going to get hot about it, you know?
And there's so many wrestling moves, but if you take to a certain move that you like and you use it as your finish, and someone else has it, like that's kind of unavoidable.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. Like you, like probably like if me and you are on the same show, like out of respect, like we'll probably come to each other and say, "Hey, are you gonna do a Sister Abigail tonight?" You know. And then if you're gonna do one, then I probably won't, and vice versa. If I got my heart set on doing one, I might say, "Oh, would you mind?" You know, but I really like. I don't. It's like as long as the matches are good, yeah, you know, I just don't want to repeat spots. But at the same time, like, yeah, you know what? I'm just trying to say that I'm happy that you're using it because I kind of feel flattered, to be honest with you, which maybe is completely unnecessary. I'm sure you weren't like, oh, this is working really well for the Canadian Goose, and now I'm gonna. No, I'm sure it was nothing like that. I'm sure you were like, oh, Bray Wyatt's great, and he does it, and or Alexa Bliss does it, and I like, yeah, of course, but like, yeah, no, it's one of those things that I am flattered that you do it, and I do hope that I can help you out and show you some cool ways to do it. Uh, um, do you have any other like favorite wrestling moves?
Other favorite wrestling moves. Now that you ask me, my mind has kind of gone, completely blank. But I do think the moonsault is
The moonsault.
really cool.
Have you hit anybody with a moonsault yet?
I haven't hit anybody with the moonsault. I've hit the crash pad with it. I just
Uh,
haven't hit a person with it.
have you landed like in the ring with no pad?
No.
Is that
I've only
something
really
you're
done it with
like nervous about?
a little, but I'm willing to test it out at some point.
I have seen you moonsault. I have every confidence in you that it will not be an issue for you. Like once you've actually done it, you're like, oh, okay, that wasn't bad. No, yeah, but hitting it
Yeah.
on somebody was like the first time. You know, I'm not again like I'm not trying to make the whole show about me, but like the first time I ever hit a moonsault, it was on Matt Hart, and it was at his insistence. He was like, "Nope, you got to hit that moonsault on me tonight. You have to. I want that to happen." And I was like, "Well, okay, you know." But I was nervous about it because I was like, if I do this wrong and land with my knee on his face or something, Bret Hart's gonna think the Canadian Goose is a huge asshole. you know,
Oh.
you know. But fortunately, it went fine, and every time I've hit a moonsault since then, it's always been safe. I did one time accidentally punch Squig in the face.
How do you manage that? Do you just throw your arm backward?
I just like I was wrestling with him and he went down and whatnot, and I just was like, okay, I'm gonna do a moonsault. It was like during like just like an improvised portion of the match where it wasn't none of this was called. We were just doing stuff, and I went for it, but he was just like a tad too close to the rope or whatever. So when I went to extend my arm, it got him in the face, but he was fine. It's not like he's never hit me with something that hurt by accident,
Yeah.
So it was one of those things. I apologized afterwards, and he was like, "Yeah, it's whatever. It happens. I didn't break his neck or nothing. Get punched in the face, big deal."
Getting punched in the face and resulting with a broken neck. That would be one hell of a punch.
Oh no! Like I say, he did. I want to make it very clear. He did not break his neck. I've never I've never grievously injured anyone. I don't, and yeah, no, I don't think I've ever actually I've never injured anyone at all. So yeah. Um, Anyway, we have gone for the hour. I want to thank you very much for coming on the show today. Do you have like a T-shirt store? I did see that your mom was sporting a Relentless Rylie Rose T-shirt yesterday at the training center, which was popping me. If fans would like to get a hold of that merchandise, where can they do so?
We don't have a site registered yet. It is something that I've been thinking about, but
Okay.
as of right now, it would have to be at the shows.
All right. Well, hey, if you have stock on hand, that's always good. What about like social media? If people want to follow you, where should they go?
Relentless Riley is my tag on both Twitter and Instagram, and those are the two platforms that I'm based
Awesome,
around.
possum. Right on.
Yeah.
Well, Riley, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show. Like many episodes of Monday Night Shaw, we're gonna have to end this real quick because I gotta go pee.
Thank
Hopefully,
you for inviting
I was in
me.
the toilet this time.
Thank you for
Anyway,
allowing me to
hey,
have my
no
first
problem.
podcast.
Okie dokie. I'm just gonna eject because I have to go real bad. Thank you so much.
Thank you.